In this first edition of your greatest tech, innovation, and stock market update, we have a lot on the to-do list, including the downfall of EV production and infrastructure. Should investors be worried? AI beast NVIDIA just keeps finding ways to justify its ridiculous run-up over the past year as they are sending AI chip competition into manic depression. Sorry, Lisa Sue. An oil conglomerate stepping over to the dark side and supporting green energy. Could that be? What does that mean for the other oil barons? Crypto moving on big news for investors, including some of your favorite shitcoins and much, much more. Let's jump right into it. Ford is set to lose $4.5 billion this year on electric vehicles. That's $8,600 per minute gone in the wind. And so they decided it's about time to cut back on spending and delay their plans of throwing another $12 billion into another factory. Likewise, GM is completely abandoning their goal of building 400,000 EVs by mid-2024 to boost their financials temporarily. We're not going to give a lot of details right now just because the numbers aren't that meaningful. In other words, it's ugly. You don't want to see the numbers. They want to keep their stock afloat and their investors from going on strike. Maybe that's too soon. For those of you that don't know, Ford and GM have already been battling with their employees over pay, benefits, blah, blah, blah for the past months. And these companies are already taking massive losses on the EV front and have lost a combined $2.5 billion from the UAW strike alone, absolutely annihilating Q3 profits. Delaying plans for EV production and scaling certainly has its near-term benefits, but only delays their long-term vision, putting them even further behind in the EV landscape. So I guess their investors will just have to go on strike temporarily as well. In the wake of Ford and GM getting absolutely pounded by this news, our good friend Elon Musk is faring quite well. Tesla originally reacted to the news pretty poorly as investors feared UAW is set to take on Tesla and Toyota in their next striking conquest. However, I think these concerns might be slightly overblown for now. Tesla mega bull Ron Barron says Tesla employees are the most well-paid and well-treated employees on the entire planet. And well, when looking at Indeed, this doesn't seem to be completely true, according to the employees themselves at least, but we'll take Ron's word for it for now. He has far better insight than we do. In any case, most of this better pay that Ron Barron is referring to is due to Tesla's stock performance in the past, just something to keep in mind. While Tesla continues to avoid the crosshairs of the striking unions, they will certainly benefit from EV competitors in GM and Ford raising costs in the form of higher wages and better retirement benefits to satisfy their angry workers. So for now, this is a massive W for Elon and Tesla. They continue their smooth operation, well, as smooth as they can in this high interest rate environment, while their competition has even less money to spend on EV development. Let's start with a nice and easy one, and that's OpenAI. You know, the guys that power that whole ChatGPT thing. Well, the company unveiled a series of AI tool updates, including the ability for developers to create custom versions of ChatGPT called GPTs. CEO Sam Altman demonstrated how stupidly easy it is for anybody to use, even with absolutely zero coding experience, and all in a few minutes. At OpenAI's Dev Day on November 6, 2023, among many updates, we heard about GPT-4, the latest version of the technology that powers ChatGPT. However, unusually, it's not a speed upgrade. It's actually quite the opposite. Altman said it can now support input that's equal to about 300 pages of a standard book, about 16 times longer than the previous iteration. And we all know ChatGPT has been known in the past for providing slightly inaccurate information and sometimes straight up lying to our face, but the tides are turning. Now it passes a simulated bar exam with a score around the top 10% of test takers. In contrast, GPT 3.5's score was around the bottom 10%. We've spent 6 months iteratively aligning GPT-4 and using lessons from our adversarial testing program, as well as ChatGPT. In other words, GPT 3.5 was fast and stupid, and GPT-4 is smart and a little slower. It always results in the inevitable game of trade-offs: performance for speed, speed for performance. Finding that balance is incredibly difficult. However, they certainly seem to be doing a pretty good job of balancing, as about 2 million developers now use the platform, and about 90% of Fortune 500 companies are using the tools internally. It currently has 100 million active users and has reached this milestone faster than any other consumer application in history, and makes everything else look like a joke. Revenue is currently 1.2 billion per year. And don't forget, Microsoft owns 49% of this company. With a current valuation of 200 billion, that makes Microsoft's stake worth a measly 100 billion. No wonder the stock is at all-time highs. Probably one of the only stocks on the entire market to be so. Optimism is growing for the virtually limitless use cases that OpenAI hopes to address with GPT. And that's certainly not all in the beautiful AI space. NVIDIA just continues to find ways to remain the best stock to own in the entire world. In the last few weeks, they've been dealing with some bans on China exports, preventing them from selling their flagship gaming graphics card, as well as A100 and H100 chips. At first glance, this was scary news for investors in the stock market itself. We don't yet know or understand the full impact of this on the overall semiconductor market. Will the tech-savvy Chinese consumer get pissed off that they're not getting the latest and greatest chip specs? Or are the chips just that good that they're willing to settle for them anyways? China makes up 20 to 25% of Nvidia's data center revenue, although I will say I think Nvidia customers, including Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft, will gladly slurp up any Nvidia juice that they can. And by juice, I mean any excess supply, any additional chips that they have to sell. And while we're still on the topic of glazing Jensen Huang, Nvidia also just announced their latest chip, the next generation of the H100, the H200. That's nearly doubled the capacity of the Nvidia H100 Tensor Core GPU with 1.4 times more memory bandwidth. Just know it's really fast, and at this point it's just getting silly. This has put any competition to bed for the time being. Sorry, Lisa Zhu. This stock is an absolute beast, and earnings may just send it to a whole other level. Massive W for Nvidia. Now first, let's please give a moment to our fellow brothers and sisters who got caught holding these two shit companies. Plug Power and Fuel Cell have the seemingly perfect solution for cheap and effective electricity production through hydrogen fuel cell systems. But unfortunately, their solutions are not cheap, they're expensive, and are actually ineffective. In other words, it's not going well. Plug shares dropped 40% after executives warned that they may not be able to survive their current financial situation. But don't you worry, the C-suite still remains optimistic about the company. Jesus Christ, man. Theory will only get you so far in this world, and with that being said, good luck to all our brave and strong stockholders out there. On brighter news, my stock market darling NVDA. It's down another 50%. Yeah, I don't know why I said brighter news. The solar sector is in complete ruin right now. Oh my god, it just dropped another 10% after that sentence. In all seriousness, the jump this week has been due to the fact inflation came in cooler than expected, and Daddy Powell may be done with hiking and may be looking to cut rates soon. But I will say the strongest companies will survive, and unfortunately, as these large solar panel producers continue to have their margins squeezed, only the highest margin businesses will make it out alive. And those that survive the massacre will probably take most of the market too. And that's probably NVDA. Speaking of green energy, would you have ever thought the day would come when a large oil giant would step into the world of green energy? This can't be right. Well, here we are. Exxon, one of the largest oil and gas companies on the planet, has revealed plans to become a top lithium supplier by 2030 to support the shift to electric vehicles. Will these oil barons really be able to swallow their profits and hop on the green wave? We'll see about that. If you didn't know already, lithium is one of the most important elements used to create robust EV batteries, as it is lightweight but holds a lot of energy. Exxon plans to supply lithium for well over 1 million EVs, generating an additional $800 million in cash per year by 2030. Currently, the lithium production market is owned almost purely by Australia, South America, and China, so Exxon hopes to disrupt that supply chain in the future. Is this just good PR for the oil lords, or does it mark the beginning of an industry shift? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Oh baby, do we have a lot of progress happening on the cryptocurrency front right now? I will assure you there is no shortage of complete and utter bullishness on social media. And considering I just made a video all about market psychology, this is slightly worrisome, but there is good reason for the optimism. Blackrock, the world's largest investment management company with holy shit, 8.6 trillion in assets under management, filed to have a Bitcoin ETF approved, bringing that oh so eluded institutional investor money flooding into the market. At least that's what we think will happen. And just for your awareness, the next natural question is, we already have Bitcoin ETFs. Why is Blackrock so important now? Why are they all of a sudden stealing the show? Well, basically take another crypto investment instrument like Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. They only invest in Bitcoin and you invest in them. The only problem is you can never redeem your holdings for actual Bitcoin. And as a result, the trust price can deviate from the value of Bitcoin. In other words, you may be paying a lot more than you should be for exposure to Bitcoin, or the trust may be significantly undervalued. The point is you want to hold Bitcoin, and that's what this Blackrock ETF is set out to do. A spot ETF is what they call it. And optimism that this approval will go through is so high because BlackRock's record of ETFs being approved by the SEC is about the same as my odds to lose all of my money in an options trade. 575-1. Just about as guaranteed as it gets, and that one was eventually approved, so really 575-0. Bitcoin has been rallying and has hit its highest price in 18 months, while at the same time the halving event is coming up. And as you can see with all these pretty rainbow charts and graphs, it usually makes for quite the catalyst for the next crypto bull cycle. It was also confirmed this week that BlackRock is planning to have an Ethereum ETF approved, so we saw ETH shoot up above 2,000 for the first time since May 2022. And if there's one thing you can be certain of, it's that when crypto starts going up, every single person and their mother all over YouTube and Twitter instantaneously becomes a cryptocurrency expert. There is a lot of speculation that video game and metaverse related coins will do really well in the supposed next alt cycle. A lot of people calling about how they plan to be a millionaire soon and invest all their money in shit coins. We certainly have seen this story before, and it did make a lot of millionaires, but also made a lot of people poor. Even NFTs are up on the... Oh, never mind. I guess the exclusive monkey pictures will have to wait for their turn. On better news, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq logged their longest winning streak in 2 years last week, 7 and 8 respectively. And I'm starting to see a trend here. The more negative everybody gets and the more depressing social media looks, the more likely we are to rally. The University of Michigan's Index of Consumer Sentiment, basically a way of showing how people like you and me think the economy is, declined for a 4th straight month. In other words, we are expecting things to get pretty ugly in the coming months. We are now nearing the levels that we saw just a year ago when the market was about 15% lower than it is today. What is it that Warren Buffett used to say? When other people are fearful, be greedy. Something like that. And honestly, this is about all my brain can handle for this tech and stock market update. If you guys like the format, please let me know. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!